Just can't get enough. Just can't get enough. Just can't get enough.
Hello everyone, this is In-Game Arts with another boxing, another offline product game review. This is Bomb Rush Cyberfunk for the PlayStation 5. To jump right into it, this physical copy here is just a base vanilla version of the game, so the on-disc version is 1.0. Now sadly there was an update available. This update size was 533 megabytes big and will take you to version 1.2.0 since the time making this video. Now, like always, I play all my games completely offline with an unregistered account, and I didn't experience any massive game-breaking bugs or issues, and as well, I was still unlocking trophies with my unregistered account. Now, going into Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, this was the first time I ever played the game of this kind of style. If you don't know, this game was heavily inspired by another game called Jet Set Radio, which was first released on the Sega Dreamcast, and then got a wider release and got released on the first original Xbox, which I never got to play either. So this was the first time I ever got to play this kind of style of game. Now, as I said, I never played Jet Set Radio, so I don't know how much this game is inspired or influenced from that. I just can tell from the overall aesthetic and as well as some of the mechanics that I am aware of Jet Set Radio. So going into the game, it was relatively enjoyable. It's definitely a more faster, fluider, like arcadey kind of style of a Tony Hawk's game, where Tony Hawk's has a little bit more punishing in terms of you have to make sure you're landing perfectly, you have to make sure you're doing all the perfect setups and stuff like that. Even though the game is very arcadey, it's not a simulator, it does have some punishment in terms of not doing combos or doing certain like actions that will cause you to fall off the skateboard or whatever. While in Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, there is no falling off your board or anything like that. You can land almost any stunt or anything like that and just keep on building up a chain of combos as long as you just can maintain manual, and then you can chain up more and more combos. It's just a very more arcadey, fast and fluid style gameplay. But the artistic design, as well as surprisingly the story, is relatively good. I actually was surprisingly really into it. Even though it's really out there in some of its subject matters in terms of what goes on. Of course, I'm not going to avoid any spoilers, but just certain things took me by surprise. It's like, wow, I didn't expect things to go in this direction and things to happen like that. But it was a nice surprise. It's not a bad thing. I was really enjoying it. And I really, really like the artistic design of the game. The game is not shy about it. It really wants to show you that, I mean, this high-speed thing, like cyberpunk thing, rap thing, the graffiti and stuff like that. It's all very well done. And I do like how you spray paint graffiti on walls. Even though it's a little frustrating trying to remember all of them, thankfully you can pull up your phone as well as play the game at the same time, which I thought was a really nice touch. The pulling up your phone allows you to see the map as well as look at all the button layouts that put down for your graffiti in case you want to put down a specific one on a specific wall for whatever your artistic design you want to put on that particular wall. Or you can also re-spray paint over existing walls that you've already spray painted in case you want to change it later down on the road. Again, really cool. And as well, I did really like how there is more how do you say, ways to be able to traverse. There's not just a skateboard. You have skates, and as well as you have the bicycle. I really liked bicycle. That was more of my favorite one to use the most, just because I've always had a fondness for bicycles. So I really like how it plays, but none of these different traversal items really change up the mechanics of the game. They all feel the same. They just got different looking stunts and stuff like that. And certain, like, instead of doing a manual on a skateboard, you do a wheelie on a bicycle. So again, it's pretty much all the same mechanics, which was maybe a little disappointing, but I was kind of nice to be able to jump between them when I felt like I wanted to change things up. And I do like how you get to play other characters throughout the story. You don't have to constantly play as Red as the main character. And I just like that aspect. I'm a little hesitant to talk about story because a lot of it has a bit of a spoiler, but I will just say you're Red and you're trying to find out what happened to you and trying to figure out what's going on about your past. That's pretty much I'm going as far as I'm going to go with it. You play with other characters and they try to help you along the way, and their mission is to become All City, which is basically you own all as the city of your gang group. I don't even really want to say gang, but just your graffiti group, or riders as they call it, where you're going around owning sections of the town and you're putting your graffiti, basically your mark on the town. Basically how I can describe it without providing too much spoilers or future content. But I do want to point out some minor things. I did have some minor graphical bug where, like, sometimes the graffiti will have a yellow, like, ripples all over to let you know you can spray paint a new graffiti on that. Sometimes it flickers and clips through the existing graffiti on the wall. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but it was noticeable. And I did have some weird, like, collision of graphics where, like, I could see, like, somewhat of graphics of another wall and then affecting another wall, and it kind of did like this shadow affecting. It only happened like 2 times, and it's really hard to explain. It was only popped up very quickly, but I just noticed it. That's about it. The other thing is that I'm really disappointed in the map. While the map is really cool, you can pull it up on the cell phone and, like, look at where you're going, where you need to go. The map doesn't really provide you too much info, and it is disappointing that you don't get the upgraded version of the map until you completed the area. Basically, you've beaten the gang of that group, and you are basically finishing all the stuff up. But it still doesn't provide you that much information. There were, like, items where I was trying to confuse, like, where's the dance floor so I can change my character. That's not on the map. There's these special, like, teleporters that you have to hit these, like, items that have a high five, and you smack them and you build up a good combo to turn on this teleporter almost. They don't tell you where that is. Like, I don't mind them not telling me where the hand clap things are, because you gotta find them as you're building up your combo. That makes sense. But where to find the ones that you finally unlock it, some of them I spent a long time trying to find it because I could not find them because they're not on the map. And as well as there's no map to let you know where to change your outfit. And change your outfit is not just simply changing the cosmetical look. It is important to the game, kind of like Grand Theft Auto style, where you change the paint job of your vehicle to lose the heat from the police officers. So trying to find these random bathrooms around was really tedious, and I got really annoyed trying to hunt them down. I get it, they're trying to make it challenging, but man, it got really tedious trying to have, like, a heat of 4 and all these people shooting at me causing problems, and I cannot find a bathroom in this level. It was just, I wish it was on the map. And that's the next thing, moving into the police. The police aspect is interesting in terms of the story, but gameplay-wise, I don't know how much they provide. They're more of a nuisance, and I don't really know what they're really providing in the game other than just being that nuisance. And the game does have some form of combat in the game, which is kind of cool. I get they were trying to break up some of the aspects of the game. The only problem was it's not the most interesting, and it doesn't feel very good to go into combat. Basically, you're using the same button you do stunts with, but you're using that to attack cops or destroy certain objects and stuff like that. It just doesn't feel very good to play. Now, that doesn't mean that it's all bad. I did like some of the boss fights where you like they grind up against them and then open up a pod and you spray paint it to cover up their vision. That stuff I liked. That was kind of cool. And I wish there was more of that in terms of how you do combat instead of just walking around kicking people with your stunt moves. It reminded me of a game called Concrete Genie where it had that same problem where the game had a setting. It was all about particularly art, but then at the end you had to fight enemies by just hitting them with a stick or your paintbrush. It just didn't feel like it was in the universe and how the game was supposed to feel, much like this game. Using your stunts to attack and stuff like that just doesn't feel right, especially when the game even says that that's not how they work, the rules of the street, where they don't do violence, they fight with style. So it just felt like out of character. I get it, it's different. They're meeting between two gangs instead of the police officers who are shooting at them with guns. I get that. I just feel like the game developers, they could have done something a little bit better here than using a form of violence. I would have liked it more of a style where you just spray paint them and then they get blinded and you can't see them. I'm not saying spray paint cops in the eyes. I'm talking about like their masks and stuff. You get what I'm trying to get at. Moving on, I was a little disappointed there's no way to select music. While there is songs like you can choose from, you can't disable some of them. Like if you don't like this particular song, you can't disable it. It has to be all played within that set. I would have really preferred it if they had it all just available and you could pick and choose which song you want to turn on and off. I don't mind finding newer songs. If I don't like the song, I can just disable that song to never play. That would have been greatly nice because there were some songs that really annoyed me because I'm not really into rap. But some of the music is extremely good. Moving on, the biggest next complaint is the game is relatively easy. There at no point was any challenge. It felt like the entire game was just one long tutorial almost, because like all the challenges they wanted you to do felt like it was a tutorial almost and actually like a challenge. That was really weird, especially like the very end of the game. I was like, they still felt like they were doing like tutorial explanation stuff to me, which was very weird. And it wasn't until like the very last gang group that you had to defeat in terms of building up a massive combo score that it actually even got somewhat challenging, but even then that was barely of a challenge. The bosses are not that super hard, though interesting, they weren't very hard. That's the only problem. The game is super easy, which for some people that's fine. The game can be a very chilled and relaxed experience, which is perfectly fine, but if you're a veteran gamer and you're looking for something to give you that satisfying challenge to really push you to try to build up a massive combo or something like that, this game doesn't really provide that. But at the end of the day, this game was really, really good. I'm glad the whole game perfectly worked, completely offline with an unregistered account, next to no problems other than, like I said, the graphical little hiccup, and that was about it. Everything else worked good and played great. It was a little annoying that the characters and controls can be a little annoying trying to precisely jump in specific areas at specific times, but overall it still worked really, really good. I still greatly enjoyed the game. I was really surprised by it. I didn't know what I was getting into, and I think they nailed it out of the park. This game was truly again, I've never played Jet Set Radio, so I don't have no comparisons, but if their end goal was to be like that game, I think from what I remember of Jet Set Radio, I think they nailed it out of the park, of both mechanically, stylization, and its overall feel of the music and characters, and as well as I did like changing the characters and changing my traversal item from skateboarding to bicycles. It was all just very, very good. So in my opinion, it's 100% well worth a pickup. Even the game has a very small update that's not required. So like always, I will try to provide links down in the description if you're interested in a copy. Highly recommend. Like I said, maybe there might be more added content in the future, but for right now, this is the best possible version you can get physically, and I recommend it for that. So like always, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys next unboxing video. Bye-bye!